All right, welcome everybody. Today's practice. Please be comfortable, seated, lying down, standing, upside down, whatever's good for you. And there is a Swami Shivananda used to say that he gave a guaranteed way to get enlightened. If you want a guaranteed way to get enlightened, you have to do 3 hours of Shirshasana a day. 3 hours of headstand. He said if you want to get enlightened, do 3 hours of headstand a day. He said if you don't do anything else, do 3 hours of headstand a day. In other words, when you go upside down, you see things the right side up. I remember I used to do this practice where I was inspired by one of our teachers. He would do walking meditation for 5 hours every evening. That's a lot, 5 hours. He started about 7 o'clock in the evening and he'd go till midnight. Continuous walking meditation for 5 hours. And every single day. And he actually had become a monk quite late. He'd become a monk in his late 40s or 50s. And he'd practiced so vigorously, so with such intensity that he had really reached a very high attainment. And even in his 80s, the junior monks couldn't keep up with him. And I said I should also try. So sometimes I would do these 5-hour walking meditation. Walking meditation, in case you've never done it, you just kind of you select a path of usually 10 to 20 steps. You start a little smaller, then you increase because you don't want your mind to wander. So maybe 10 steps, 15 steps, 20 steps. And you just walk up and down that path slowly. Your hands can be either in front or behind, and you're aware of each step. And as you get more practiced, you can even be aware of subtler things like breath while walking, or you can be aware of mind states while walking. You can be aware of sensations while walking. But usually the simple one is just be aware of steps, and we usually do it bare feet. So feel the ground with your feet as you walk. There's a version of this in South India where they do it in the figure of 8, which I think is also very nice. In fact, these days when I take phone calls, I walk in a figure of 8 in my home. I just continuously walk in figure of 8s. So I used to do this practice of 4 to 5 hours of walking meditation. And something interesting happens. If you're doing it for that long, you will find that at a certain point, your legs get very painful. You just keep going. And then by themselves, the pain also vanishes. Your back starts hurting, your legs start hurting. And then after a while, it vanishes. It's fascinating. So you realize that even by itself, the body can equilibrate itself. You don't have to necessarily do something. And so I would do 4 to 5 hours of walking meditation. And then I would do 20 minutes of headstand. And I'm not a professional yogi, so I like to take the support of a wall. So just even if my legs are a little bit touching the wall, I feel better. So, but that was good enough for me. I do a headstand and 15 to 20 minutes. And all the blood in my legs would again get redistributed throughout the body. And for me, that was like an amazing hack. It just felt so good, 4 to 5 hours of walking meditation followed by a headstand. And I just felt like I could conquer the world. So if you ever want to reboot yourself, try that. 4 to 5 hours of walking meditation followed by a headstand. All right. So for today, let's just get back to our practice, simple practice, sitting comfortably. Eyes can be closed. And just your willingness to show up for these practice sessions, live or recorded. There's a certain potency there. In your willingness to show up, there's a certain potency there. Your deepest intention is getting fulfilled, irrespective of what I say or don't say. One of the most remarkable things I learned from Ramakrishna Paramahansa is he said, even if you have a fake guru, a false guru, a pretend guru. You should watch a documentary called Kumare. It's fascinating about this journalist who pretends to be a guru. Because he's basically trying to expose how anybody can become a guru. So he makes a backstory and he takes some photographs in Rishikesh, and then he goes to a town in the US where no one knows him. And he becomes this guru called Kumare. And he starts getting a big following. And he always wanted to, at the end, and it's funny, his whole teaching the whole time is, I'm a fake. And people think of it very philosophically. Yeah, we're all fake. You're a fake. I'm a fake. The world is a fake. And the whole time he's teaching people, and he invents a meditation called blue light meditation. He makes up his own meditation. People are having such profound experiences with this blue light meditation. And I'll not spoil the documentary for you, but essentially, the whole point of it is that through this fake guru, people start having real transformation. And so Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, even if your guru is fake, but your aspiration is true, you're earnest, you're sincere, then you will have a real transformation. So we shouldn't get too hung up on how fake or true a guru is. Sooner or later, you will have to go beyond the guise of your guru. No matter how great your guru is, sooner or later, you'll have to realize that you are projecting onto that person qualities that are actually innate to you. This is quite a stunner when you finally get this, that you are projecting onto others their greatness, and you're also projecting onto others all the terrible things you imagine. You are the one who's projecting. This is quite a stunner when that realization finally comes. So when you come for a practice like this practice, more important than what I'm saying or not saying is your willingness to show up and your deepest intention. So in this moment, clarify your intention. Either have an intention or choose to have no intention. That's also fine. It's called conscious intention, conscious non-intention. Both of them work. Either way, be aware of your agenda or be agenda-less. This applies not only to meditation, it applies to everything. Don't do it unconsciously. Our journey is from unconscious non-intention to unconscious intention to conscious intention to conscious non-intention. From victim to creator to channel to being. From victim to empowered to surrendered to awakened. Unconscious non-intention. We're unconscious and we're not clear about what we want. Unconscious intention. We're unconscious and we copy based on other people what we think we want. If other people have that kind of house and car and job and relationship, and we also want it. Copycat, copy paste. I also want. And it's mostly based on appearances. Conscious intention is the inner essence. Behind that, what is it? What is the state of consciousness? What do I really want? It appears you want that, but actually you want something like peace, happiness, serenity, connectedness. And that is actually not limited to that experience. You can access states of consciousness instantaneously. And finally, conscious non-intention. Any intention even the intention of compassion, even the gratefulness, even great bhakti, at the end of the day, anything, like Muji says, every intention has some tension. So within intention is some tension. That's true. No matter how lofty the intention, that also has tension. Like I was reading about a person who, something happened to this person, and they had an orgasm that wouldn't stop. It just kept going on, and I had to be taken to the emergency room. This person had an orgasm that didn't stop. It's a true story. Went on. It's like, it was painful. Imagine. And you would think it's a great thing. It's only a great thing if it lasts for a few seconds. It becomes crazy painful. So no matter how lofty the experience by itself is not going to satisfy. So finally, we come to the normality of simply being ordinary mind. After all the extraordinary experiences, traveling the world, winning the awards, whole world is giving you a standing ovation. At the end of it, you just want to be conscious non-intention. After eating in all the great restaurants of the world, you just want to eat home-cooked food, your mother's food. Simple food. Ordinary people want to be famous. Famous people want to be legends. Legends want to be wise. And the wise just want to be ordinary. Let there be a settling now, settling into that conscious non-intention. Simplicity of being. Some of you had some pretty extraordinary experiences last few nights with the Buddha, with the Purnima meditation. Some of you even had last night's meditation. But don't equate meditation always with, big shifts and big energy movement, and that would be a mistake. Then you're becoming into spiritual materialism, looking for the next hit, the next experience. These experiences are good, but eventually they're revealing what you already are. That's the whole point. So simple things like just being, just breathing, simplest of things. I remember watching a group of monkeys in my monastery, and there was a rock where this monkey was sitting and grooming another monkey. Little patch of sunlight falling on that rock. And this other monkey who was being groomed just had one hand on top of the other hand. And observing them carefully, I got that feeling. What's it like for one hand to be on top of the other hand? Nice, delicate, warm feeling, isn't it? And that was a moment of connection. And that was it. One hand on top of the other hand. This can be the most profound experience. It does not have to be a great ecstatic experience. The feeling of one hand touching the other hand and the gentle warmth of that. That moment was a complete moment of my life. Last night before sleeping, I was meditating and I had this intuition that There's a nice word in Hindi, sahaj. Sahaj. Like just natural, flowing, unobstructed, effortless. At least that's what it means to me. I may not have translated it exactly, but that's, to me, sahaj is just effortless, natural, normal, just flowing, just uncontrived. So there is a life for each one of us that is maximally uncontrived, maximally effortless, without hankering, stickiness. There is that potential. And then, of course, we can complicate it by adding all kinds of layers to it. What we think we are and what we think we are not, and what we think we need and what we think we don't. And we can add many, many layers to this. And so we can come into massive resistance with the way we think we are and the way our family is and the way the world is. So you can live a relatively clean life or not. And I think at some level, even that's fine. That's not a problem. But just as recognition that you want to make more drama out of it, you can. You can find lots of things wrong with yourself and others. You can take on many projects to improve the world. And maybe that's what's sahaj for you, for all you know. Maybe that's your sahaj. So what for me, sahaj is non-resistance. Non-resistance to the way things are. So there is definitely an opportunity to be at least a little bit more sahaj, a little bit more uncontrived, effortless, lucid, free-flowing, integrated, natural. What is natural? Without comparison to others, just natural for you. And I've noticed this in people who are either very creative or very successful or very gifted in some way. Doesn't mean they're fully sorted. We've all got our pockets of distortion. But I've noticed in people who are creative or gifted in some way, that each of these people has in some way honored their naturalness. And they have been sahaj about it. So if that means sleeping in the afternoon, they sleep in the afternoon. If that means taking out time and just being by themselves, they do that. If that means some self-care ritual, they do that. If that means waking early or sleeping late, they trust that, they do that. I think it was Eric Fromm, I'm forgetting who the author is, who said this powerful line: to be yourself in a world that is trying its hardest day and night to make you everything else is to fight the hardest battle anyone can fight and never stop fighting. To be yourself in a world that's trying its hardest to make you everything else is to fight the hardest battle anyone can fight and never stop fighting. Oh, it's Emerson. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Say it's Emerson. So the intuition I had last night was you can have, there's a thread available. There's a thread available between birth and death that is the most uncontrived, most natural, most free-flowing. Not that it'll not have twists and turns, it'll have, but it's just the most uncontrived. You will also face praise and humiliation. You will also face gain and loss, pleasure and pain, all that will happen. But in absolute terms, it is the most uncontrived, natural way to be. And there is no comparison. The way my natural is may not be your natural. But can you trust that? So to me, meditation is an opportunity to settle back into that luminous thread connecting birth and death, which is intuitively the most sahaj way for this life to unfold. Where you relax the pressing, urgent messages from your brain, your mind. I have to do this, have to do that. If I don't do this, then what? If I do that, then what? What that person thinks. You detach a little bit from that. You unclutch from that. That's a nice word, unclutch. In the car, we have a clutch. It should actually be called the unclutch because when you press it, it unclutches. When you leave it by itself, it's clutched. When you press it, it unclutches from the engine. The wheels unclutch from the engine mechanism. So meditation is like unclutching from all these sanskaras, left and right, to just the most natural, lucid way of being. This is not an experience. This is the foundation of all experience. So actually, meditation is not about this or that experience. That would be another kind of materialism, spiritual materialism. Earlier, you were gathering things. Now you're gathering experiences. And you're comparing experiences with yourself, with others. This is a new kind of ego called the spiritual ego. So we have to be watchful. I don't think you can avoid it. We'll all have it. But at least be mindful of such a thing as a spiritual ego. I remember one time I was someone's home and they said something about the Buddha. And I corrected them. I said, that's not the way it was. But the person insisted, no, it was like this. And immediately my spiritual ego came up and like, okay, I've been a monk for 6 years. Are you telling me I'm wrong? I could see my spiritual ego come up. I studied the Buddha's teaching. But the truth is, even I don't know. Even I've read it somewhere. I don't know what the reality is. I'm assuming I know. And even if I did know, what's the big deal if someone has a different point of view? So that was an example of spiritual ego. I'm a monk. I know better than you. We had this very funny, we had this trip to Bodh Gaya some years back, Bodh Gaya and other places. So we had a bus. And in this bus, the front of the bus had a microphone. So the microphone would typically be between me and a tour guide. So I would give the spiritual context for the trip, and the tour guide would give more historical things about what happened here, this happened, that happened. And there were some people on the bus who had been watching the Buddha serial. There's a Buddha serial on Netflix. Maybe it's on YouTube as well. They've been watching that Buddha serial. So once in a while, when the guide would say something, one person would interrupt, no, that's not what the Buddha serial said. And there'd be a big discussion. Who's right? The guide is right? Or the Buddha serial watching person is right? I just find it very hilarious. This happened in almost every place we went. And someone said, no, that's not what happened in the Buddha serial. So irrespective of what happened, this happened or that happened, just enjoy the place. The place is there. Whether this event happened or that event happened, this way or that way. So keep coming back to the simplicity, simple feeling of being, simple feeling of being. Get familiar with the simple feeling of being. This is that luminous thread that is most sahaj, most clean, most pure, most effortless, most natural. So if you want a high quality life, keep coming back to your effortless way of being. And in the beginning, it may actually take effort. Sometimes it takes effort to arrive at effortlessness, the effort to even just sit and be part of a session like this. Because you're getting pulled in all these directions, isn't it? So effort is necessary until it isn't. Suffering is necessary until it isn't. Confusion is necessary until it isn't. Self-judgment is necessary until it isn't. Everything is necessary until it isn't. To recognize this is to stop being in contradiction to yourself. Like, I'll give you an example of one moment like this in my life where for the longest time I had this self-judgment. I'm not consistent. I start things and I don't continue them. I start things and I don't continue them. So I'll start a yoga practice and I'll not continue it. I'll start a pranayama practice, I'll not continue it. I'll start this and I'll not continue it. So in my life, I've started and stopped so many things. So I had my self-judgment was I'm not consistent. If only I was consistent, imagine how good I would be. Imagine how far ahead I would be in my practice. Then one day it occurred to me, I'm consistently inconsistent. I'm consistently inconsistent. That took away more than 90% of the suffering, right? In that moment, the suffering went away. I'm consistently inconsistent. So in my own sahaj way, it's not that I don't do, I just start and stop. And this is just, my rhythm is different from the rhythm of somebody else. I do this and I do that. It's not the rhythm of maybe a daily practice. Maybe it's a rhythm of maybe it's a different kind of like twin primes appear in the number scale. Twin primes appear in all these funny locations. Twin prime is when two prime numbers are right next to each other, or just separated by one or something. So maybe that's my rhythm. My rhythm is different from somebody. Some people have daily rhythm. My rhythm is like a twin prime rhythm. Who knows? So why do I have to match somebody else's notion? They may have a 24-hour rhythm. I don't have a 24-hour rhythm. It's a little bit more complex than that, my rhythm. So sahaj would be to be at peace with the way I am. One of the best things you can learn from me is to look in the mirror every day and say, just for today, what if there's nothing wrong with me? So like me looking in the mirror and saying, Nithya, just for today, what if there's nothing wrong with you? No matter how much the world tells you, no matter how much Instagram tells you, your family tells you, your friend tells you, your partner tells you, this is wrong, that is wrong. Just for today, what if there's nothing wrong with you? No matter how much your brain tells you, no matter how much the scriptures tell you, no matter how much anyone tells you, just for today, what if there's absolutely nothing wrong with you? It is such an unusual thought. This kind of thought is so unusual because we are all programmed. Not good enough, not good enough. There's something called imposter syndrome, where even people who go to Ivy League colleges have a sense that I don't belong here. They've given me admission by mistake. I'm not good enough. Imposter syndrome. So how beautiful Ramakrishna Paramahans saying that even a fake guru, if you have genuine aspiration, intention, even a fake guru will bring you home. What a beautiful teaching this is. So that means even if I am a fake teacher, fake meditator, even if I'm a pretend teacher of some kind, it's all right. Because pretend contains the word tend. Whatever you pretend to be, you tend to be. Like Kumare in that documentary. In pretending to be a guru, trying to expose the gurus, he discovered he had some of the deepest connections of his entire life. He had the most moving connections of the entire life. I think there's a movie called Guide. If I'm not mistaken, that's also about that. Where he pretends to be a holy man. And in pretending, he tends to be. He becomes that. What you pretend to be, you tend to be. So instead of pretending to be broken, which also is a kind of pretending only, why not pretend to be whole? Why not pretend to be complete? If you have to pretend, why not pretend something nicer? You don't have to. Why not? Many years back, Anurag Kashyap was wanting to make a film on the Buddha. And there was this call for auditions. And a lot of my friends said, Nithya, since you've been a monk, you should audition. And I just found it very fun. The whole idea I just found very, 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 very fun. I said, let's do it. So what do I have to do? So they gave me the lines, and there were two scenes that had to be shot. One as Prince Siddhartha talking to his father, and the other was the Buddha just after enlightenment. And these were short scenes, about 3-4 minutes, and they had to be recorded and uploaded onto YouTube. And then they would decide who they wanted to choose. So I had my friends video record me. First of all, I realized how hard it is to remember lines. Oh my goodness, it's a big job remembering these lines. A lot of props to these actors for remembering lines and lines. It's not easy remembering these lines. Anyway, to memorize those lines. And so did the first scene of being this prince who's talking to his father about something. In the second scene, I had to be the Buddha himself who, and of course, even though you're shooting, you typically have to do it many times, right? But the first shot doesn't work out. So you do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times before you get a good shot. So now this time I'm the Buddha, and the scene is I've just gotten enlightened, and then I'm emerging from enlightenment, and I'm giving a teaching, first teaching, right after enlightenment. So that scene had to be shot many times, took about 30 to 40 minutes. And now you imagine for a moment, you have to role play being the Buddha who's had this tremendous enlightenment and is now giving his very first teachings. And you repeat that over and over again. I mean, for me, those 30 minutes, they were like a profound meditation. I said, wow, what I pretend to be, I tend to be. If I pretend to be the Buddha who's just gotten enlightened, I am the Buddha who's just gotten enlightened. Yatha drishti, tatha shrishti. What you think about and think about is brought about. What you visualize, vocalize, emotionalize is actualized. This is actually the foundation of Tantra, the Vajrayana path. It says that if you think like the Buddha, speak like the Buddha, act like the Buddha, and see everyone and everything as the Buddha, you are the Buddha. There is no other Buddha than this. Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, Dharmakaya. Nirmanakaya is you see this physical body as the Buddha, and you see all physical bodies as the Buddha, emanation of the Buddha. Sambhogakaya, the subtle body, the astral body, the dream body, the body that you have in your dreams, the subtle body, the non-physical body, the mental body. You see that also as a Buddha. Dharmakaya, the very fabric and substance of the universe, is also Buddha, is also awakened. It's luminosity. It's self-knowing luminosity. If you pretend to be the Buddha as Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, and Dharmakaya, the triple Kaya, the three bodies of the Buddha, in that moment, you are the Buddha. There is no other Buddha than this. You are awake. You have woken up from the dream of who you thought you were. And just like those, what are they called? Those hole punches. You punch a hole in a piece of paper to put it in a file. When you first come across a hole punch, it's a lot of fun. You punch holes. A lot of fun. It's very satisfying to punch holes. So you keep punching and punching. So if you use that hole punch long enough, the entire paper will be covered with holes. And the time will come when all that paper will be gone. So if you did do this practice I just mentioned, Nirmanakaya, you see yourself. Now the Buddha is just a placeholder. You don't like the word Buddha, replace it with Krishna or Jesus or Guru Nanak or truth or love or whatever your favorite word is. Don't get lost in words. But you see yourself as that, whatever your highest concept of that is. You see everyone and everything as that, including the subtle planes, including on the causal level. If you see all these three as Buddha, even momentarily, you just punched a hole, a nice solid hole, right in the middle of the dream of who you thought you were and what you thought this world was or is. And if you play with this hole punch long enough, now what's going to happen? Everything is going to become transparent, undisguised, limitless, without obstructions. That's why meditation is a wholesome practice. You keep punching holes. So what you pretend to be, you tend to be. So instead of pretending to be this deluded, confused, have you noticed that in the word corporate, there's the word rat, corporate? You've heard that, right? Even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Why would you want to be a rat when you can be a Buddha? So punching hole after hole, hole after hole into the dream. What happens when you punch the hole so many times? All the paper disappears. I like to say, enjoy the confusion while it lasts. Enjoy the limitation while it lasts. Enjoy the duality while it lasts. For all you know, you might miss it. Then how are you going to get it back once you've lost all of that? Once you've lost all the obstruction, all the duality? So suffering is necessary until it's not. Effort is necessary until it's not. Confusion is necessary until it's not. Your personality quirks are necessary until they're not. All the ways in which you're feeling twisted and tied up and obstructed and limited are all actually necessary until they are not. God dreams in the rock. God sleeps in the rock, dreams in the plant, stirs in the animal, and awakens. We have the capacity in the species to awaken if we choose to, if we want to. Or we can remain in the dream, in the illusion. I love this Pali word, dullabo. Dullabo means, like Hindi mein kahenge durlab, rare, precious, dullabo. So it is rare, it is precious. To gain human birth is rare. You may think, oh, there's so many humans. But actually it's very rare because there are more bacteria in a spoonful of soil than there are humans on this planet. So dullabo, it is rare. To be born as a human is rare. To be born as a human in a time when such teachings are available is rare. To be born in a place, in a country where you come across these kinds of teachings. Like you can be born in the time and yet not come across these teachings. And to be born in a place where you can come across these teachings, that is rare. To actually come across these teachings is rare. Having come across these teachings, to have some interest, to have some faith, to have some affinity, some resonance with these teachings, that is rare. Dullabo. Dullabo. Having had that affinity to be moved and inspired to practice, because it's one thing to be intellectually stimulated, and it's another thing altogether to actually practice it. So then beyond the affinity to actually practice it, that is rare. Dullabo. And then as you practice to really come to the fruition of that practice, that is rare. Dullabo. Dullabo. And for the full fruition, the full realization, the full penetration, the full quenching, that whole punch, punching away, eating up every last bit of the illusion, that is very rare. Dullabo. Increasing order of rareness, preciousness, unlikeliness. So for every single one of you who is listening to this live or recorded, a lot of rare things have happened. Human birth has happened at a time when such teachings are available has happened. You've come into contact with these teachings. You've obviously had an affinity with the teachings. So now keep going. Don't just think about it. Apply yourself. Be willing to go through the necessary suffering, the necessary confusion, the necessary strife, the necessary effort. It is needed until it's not needed. So do that last. It's like you're 1 inch away now. You're pretty much home. Don't say it's difficult. The difficult part was until now. Now this is just the home run. This is the home stretch. This is when you've done the marathon and you're taking the last 1 round of the stadium before you go to the finish line. If you've come this far, you are now in that last stretch, the last patch, home run. You already run the 40-kilometer marathon, whatever it is, 42 kilometers. And now it's just the last stretch. So don't say this is hard. The hard was getting till this point. Now, just say bring it on. Your main mantra should be bring it on. Whatever pain comes, suffering comes, discomfort comes, emotional, physical, financial, relational, bring it on, bring it on. Now, this is all good medicine. You're in the home stretch now, home run. Now, even if you're getting a cramp, bring it on. We're going to complete this. We're going to get to the end. So having come to this point, do not now turn away. That would be, I cannot imagine of a more colossal tragedy than this. You come this far, and then for one reason or the other, you say, oh, not for me. I can't do it. I'm busy. I'm this, I'm that. That would be such a tragedy. So dullabo. A lot of dullabos have happened. Lots of precious, rare, increasingly unlikely things have happened. Now the last home run is there. Apply yourself. Even if you apply yourself in a clumsy way, that's fine. Apply yourself. Everything is clumsy before it becomes graceful. So be willing to fail forward. And now, complete what needs to be done. Katang karaniyam. Katang karaniyam. Do what needs to be done, the Buddha says. Katang karaniyam. I feel like reading the last line, in the Buddha's first talk, the Dhamma Chakkapavattana Sutta. He gives this beautiful talk. Let me just open my chanting book. Maybe I can chant the whole, it's not even that long. See, if so many dullabho things have happened, you might as well listen to the chant also without falling asleep. So how about I chant the Dhamma Chakkapavattana Sutta, the first teaching given by the Buddha to the group of 5, Panchavagya, the 5 monks. The discourse on setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma, Dhamma Chakkapavattana Sutta. So maybe I'll first chant it in English and then in Pali. How about that? So then you have some sense of what I'm chanting. If I chant in Pali, you'll not know what I'm chanting. So I'll chant it. I think this whole thing will take about 10, 12 minutes. 5, 6 minutes in English, 5, 6 minutes in Pali. So let's do this. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Thus have I heard. Once, when the Blessed One was staying in the deer sanctuary at Isipatana near Benares, he spoke to the group of 5 bhikkhus. These 2 extremes, bhikkhus, should not be followed by one who has gone forth. Sensual indulgence, which is low, coarse, vulgar, ignoble, and unprofitable, and self-torture, which is painful, ignoble, and unprofitable. Bhikkhus, by avoiding these 2 extremes, He's missed one line though. And okay, I missed it. These two extremes, bhikkhus, should not be followed by one who has gone forth. Sensual indulgence, which is low, coarse, vulgar, ignoble, and unprofitable. And the second one is, and self-torture, which is painful, ignoble, and unprofitable. Bhikkhus, by avoiding these two extremes, the Tathagata has realized the middle way, which gives vision and understanding, which leads to calm, penetration, enlightenment, to nibbana. And what bhikkhus is the middle way, realized by the Tathagata, which gives vision and understanding, which leads to calm, penetration, enlightenment, to nibbana. It is just this noble eightfold path, namely right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Truly, bhikkhus, this middle way, understood by the Tathagata, produces vision, produces knowledge, and leads to calm, penetration, enlightenment, to nibbana. This bhikkhus is a noble truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, death is dukkha, grief, lamentation, pain, sorrow, and despair are dukkha. Association with the disliked is dukkha. Separation from the liked is dukkha. Not to get what one wants is dukkha. In brief, clinging to the five khandas is dukkha. The five khandas are form, which is the body, feelings, memories, intention, and consciousness. Clinging to the five khandas is dukkha. This bhikkhus is a noble truth of the cause of dukkha, the craving that causes rebirth and is bound up with pleasure and lust, ever seeking fresh delight, now here, now there, namely craving for sense pleasure, craving for existence, and craving for annihilation. This bhikkhus is a noble truth of the cessation of dukkha, the complete cessation, giving up, abandonment of that craving, complete release from that craving, and complete detachment from it. This bhikkhus is a noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha. Only this noble eightfold path, namely right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, with the thought, this is the noble truth of dukkha. There arose in me, bhikkhus, vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of dukkha, and this dukkha has to be understood. There arose in me, bhikkhus, vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of dukkha, and this dukkha has been understood. There arose in me, bhikkhus, vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the cause of dukkha. There arose in me, bhikkhus, vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the cause of dukkha, and this cause of dukkha has to be abandoned. There arose in me, bhikkhus, vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the cause of dukkha, and this cause of dukkha has to be abandoned. There arose in me, bhikkhus, vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the cessation of dukkha. There arose in me vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the cessation of dukkha, and this cessation of dukkha has to be realized. There arose in me vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the cessation of dukkha, and this cessation of dukkha has been realized. There arose in me vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha. There arose in me the vision, knowledge, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha has to be developed. There arose in me vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before, with the thought, this noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of dukkha has been developed. There arose in me vision, knowledge, insight, wisdom, light concerning things unknown before. So if you were paying attention, he took all the four noble truths and he had three levels to them. One was realizing that there is such a noble truth. Second is realizing that it has to be developed, it has to be understood. And the third is the full penetration, the full realization, understanding, or development of that. So all the four noble truths multiplied by 3, 12 things we just chanted. So long, bhikkhus, as my knowledge and vision of reality concerning these Four Noble Truths in their 3 phases and 12 aspects was not fully clear to me, I did not declare to the world of spirits, demons, and gods, with its seekers and sages, celestial and human beings, the realization of the incomparable perfect enlightenment. But when, bhikkhus, my knowledge and vision of reality regarding these Four Noble Truths in their 3 phases and 12 aspects was fully clear to me, I declared to the world of spirits, demons, gods, with its seekers and sages, celestial and human beings, that I understood incomparable perfect enlightenment. Knowledge and vision arose. Unshakable is my deliverance. This is the last birth. There will be no more renewal of being. Thus spoke the Blessed One. Glad at heart, the bhikkhus, the group of 5 bhikkhus, approved of the words of the Buddha. As this exposition was proceeding, the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma appeared in the Venerable Kondanya, and he knew everything that has the nature to arise has the nature to cease. When the Blessed One had set in motion the wheel of Dhamma, the earth-bound devas proclaimed with one voice, the incomparable wheel of Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One in the dear sanctuary in Isipatana near Benares, and no seeker, Brahmin, celestial being, demon, god, or any other being in this world can stop it. Having heard what the earth-bound devas said, the devas of the 4 great kings proclaimed with one voice, and they proclaimed the same thing. So basically what's happening is what just happened on earth. The earthbound devas, they were the celestial beings who lived closest to the earth. They rejoiced in that and they proclaimed it. And then the next level, the Chatu Maharajika devas, the next level devas, the Bhuma devas, the earthbound devas, Chatu Maharajika deva, the next level, then they proclaimed the same thing all over again. And like this, it's like an ecosystem. Each one hears it and proclaims it to the next level. Having heard what the Devas of the 4 great kings said, the Devas of the 33 proclaimed with one voice. Having heard that the Devas of the 33 said, the Yama Devas proclaimed with one voice. Having heard what the Yama Devas said, the Devas of delight proclaimed with one voice. Having heard what the Devas of delight said, the Devas who delight in creating proclaimed with one voice. Having heard what the Devas who delight in creating said, the Devas who delight in the creation of others proclaimed with one voice. Having heard what the Devas who delight in the creation of others said, the Brahma gods proclaimed in one voice. The incomparable wheel of Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One in the deer park in Isipatana near Benares, and no seeker, Brahmin, celestial being, god, demon, or any other being can stop it. Thus, in a moment, in an instant, in a flash, the word of the setting in motion of the wheel of Dhamma went forth up to the Brahma world and to the 10,000-fold universal system. It trembled, it quaked, it shook, and a boundless, sublime radiance surpassing the power of devas appeared on earth. And then the Blessed One made the utterance, truly, Kaundanya has understood, Kaundanya has understood. And this is how the Venerable Kaundanya got the name Anya Kaundanya, Kaundanya who understands. So it was a moment of great delight for the Buddha, because he did not know if what he had realized anybody else could realize. He thought it was too subtle. So he was delighted when he realized, oh my goodness, Kaundanya gets it, Kaundanya gets it. That means others can also get it. So not only is Kaundanya delighted, the Buddha himself is delighted. Now we'll chant this in Pali. And though you may not, of course, you've heard the English translation, but just feel the vibes. This has been chanted so many times since the Buddha's enlightenment. Evang me sutang. Evang me sutang means, thus have I heard. It's an oral tradition. Evang me sutang ekang samayang bhagava varanasiyang viharati isipatane migadaye tatrako bhagava panchavagye bhikkhu amantesi dve me bhikkhave anta pabhajatena nasevitabba yochayam kamesu kamasukhalinakano yogo hino gammo pothujaniko anariyo anattasanhito yochayam attakilang athanu yogo dukkho anariyo anattasanhito ete te bhikkave ubbho ante anupagamma majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha chakkukarani jnanakarani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbānaya samvattati katamacha sa bhikkave majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha chakkukarani jnanakarani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbānaya samvattati ayameva ariyo atthangiko maggo sayyatidam samma ditti, samma sankappo, samma vacha, samma kammanto, samma ajivo, samma vayamo, samma sati, samma samadhi. Ayankhosa bhikkave majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha chakkukarni jnanakarni upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbānaya samvattati idankopana bhikkave dukkhang ariyasacchang jatipi dukkha jarapi dukkha, maranampi dukkham, sokaparideva dukkha domanasapaya, pidukkha, appiyehi sampayogo dukkho, piyehi vippayogo dukkho, yampi echanna labati tampi dukkham, sankitthena panch upadana khanda dukkha, idam khopana bhikkave, dukkha samadayo, ariya satchang, yayang tanha pono bhavika, नंदिराग सहगता तत्र तत्र अभिनंदिनी संयतीदं कामतन्हा भवतन्हा विभवतन्हा इदं कोपन भिक्कवे दुःख निरोधो अरिय सच्चं यो तस्सा येव तन्हाय अशेष विराग निरोधो चागो परिनिस्सग्गो मुक्ति अनालयो इदं कोपन भिक्कवे दुःख निरोधगामिनी पतिपदा अरिय सच्चं अयमेव अरियो अट्ठंगिको मग्गो संयतीदं सम्मा दिट्ठि सम्मा संकप्पो सम्मा वाचा सम्मा कम्मन्तो सम्मा आजीवो सम्मा वायामो सम्मा सति सम्मा समाधि इदं दुःखं अरिय सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अनुनस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखो पनिदं दुःखं अरिय सच्चं परिनेयन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखोपनिदं दुःखं अरिय सच्चं परिन्यातन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननसुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख समुदयो अरिय सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु things never heard before चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखोपनिदं दुःख समुदयो अरिय सच्चं पहातबन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखोपनिदं दुःख समुदयो अरिय सच्चं पाहि नन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख निरोधो अरिय सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखो पनिदं दुःख निरोधो अरिय सच्चं सच्चिकातबन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखो पनिदं दुःख निरोधो अरिय सच्चं सच्चिकातन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख निरोध गामिनी पतिपदा अरिय सच्चन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखोपनिदं दुःख निरोध गामिनी पतिपदा अरिय सच्चं भावे तब्बन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंखोपनिदं दुःख निरोध गामिनी पतिपदा अरिय सच्चं भावितन्ति मे भिक्कवे पुब्बे अननस्सुतेषु धम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि याव किंचा मे भिक्कवे इमेषु चतुषु अरिय सच्चेषु एवंति परिवत्तं द्वादशकारं यथाभूतं ज्ञानदर्शनं न सुविशुद्धं अहोसि नेव तावाहं भिक्कवे सदेवके लोके समारके सब्रह्मके शासन ब्रह्मणिया पजाय सदेव मनुस्साय अनुत्तरं सम्मा संबोधिं अभिसंबुद्धो पच्चन्यासिं यथा चको भिक्कवे इमेषु चतुषु अरिय सच्चेषु एवंति परिवत्तं द्वादशकारं यथाभूतं ज्ञानदर्शनं सुविशुद्धं अहोसि अताहं भिक्कवे सदेवके लोके समारके सब्रह्मके सासमन ब्रह्मणियापजाय सदेव मनुस्साय अनुत्तरं सम्मा संबोधिं अभिसंबुद्धो पच्चन्यासं ज्ञानञ्चपन दस्सनं उपादाय अकुप्पा मे विमुक्ति ayam antimajati nathidani punabhavoti. What a beautiful line this is. He says, unshakable is my deliverance. This is the last birth. There is no more renewal of being. Akuppame vimutti ayang antimajati nathidani punabhavoti. Idamavocha bhagava attamana panchavagya bhikkhu bhagavato bhasitang abhinandam. Imasminchapana vayyakaranasming bhanyamane ayasmato kondanyassa virjang vitamalang dhammachakkam udapadi yankinji samudayang dhammang sabbantang nirodh dhammanti. At this exposition, the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma appeared to the Venerable Kondanya, and he knew that which has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. Pavatte cha bhagavata dhammachakke bhummadeva saddamanussavesum etang bhagavata varanasiyang isipatane migadaye anuttarang dhammachakkum pavattitam apati vattiyang samanenava brahmanenava devenava marenava brahmunava kenachiva lokasmanti bhummanang devanang saddam sutva chatu maharajika deva sadda manussavesam. And they repeat the same thing. Chatu maharajikanang devanang saddam sutva tavatimsa deva sadda manussavesam tavatimsanam devanam saddam sutva yama deva sadda manussavesam yamanang devanang saddam sutva tusita deva saddha manussavesam. Tusit Devlok, the heaven of Tusita Devas, is where the coming Buddha is supposed to be awaiting his last lifetime. Maitreya Buddha. He's waiting in Tusita Devlok. Tusitanang Devanang Saddham Sutva Nimmanarati Deva Saddhamanussavesam. Nimmanaratinang Devanang Saddham Sutva Parinimmita Vasavati Deva Saddhamanussavesam. Parinimmatta vasavattinam devanang saddam sutva brahmakayika deva saddhamanussavesam etang bhagavata varanasiyang isipatane migadaye anuttarang dhammachakkhung pavattitam apativattiyang samanena va brahmanena va devena va marena va brahmuna va kenachiva lokasminti itihatena khanena Tena mahutena yava brahmaloka saddo abhuggachi ayancha dassa sahassi lokadhatu sankappi sampakampi sampavedi. The whole universe shook and trembled. Appamano chaularo obhaso loke paturahosi atikameva devanang devanubhavang. A great light filled the world. Atako Bhagava Udanesi, and thus the Buddha explained with a lot of joy. Anyasi vatabho kondanyo, anyasi vatabho kondanyoti. Kondanyasis. Truly, Kondanya, you have understood. Kondanya, you have understood. Iti hidang ayasmato kondanyaso anya kondanyo tveva namang ahositi. And thus the Venerable Kondanya got the name Anya Kondanya. Kondanya who understands. Dhammachakka pavattana suttang nittidang. And there ends the first discourse given by the Buddha, setting in motion the wheel of Dharma. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te. Beautiful. So I believe we have watered the nascent seed of Buddhahood in every single one of you who has lasted so long in today's session. And dullabo, very many, very rare things have happened, one after the other, for you to be here at this time and to receive all of this. So let us put our hands together, just be grateful for all the causes and conditions that led to your being here in this moment with yourself, connecting to the luminous thread of your most natural, most easeful, most, what can you say, most uncontrived unraveling. The unraveling is going to happen. Let it happen in an uncontrived way. And by the blessings of the Buddha, by the blessings of all the great awakened beings, may you, right here, instead of pretending to be a lost, ignorant one, how about pretending to be Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, Dharmakaya? Right here, fully awaken to your naturalness. Awaken to what for you, how the Buddha wants to express himself, herself through you. Not the way the historical Buddha expressed himself, but how does the Buddha element in you want to express itself in you? That's the real question. It's not about following some template, otherwise it cannot be freedom. Can it? Beautiful. All right. So nice. The highest in me, what's the message here? The highest in me bows down to the highest in you. Immense gratitude, totally blessed to have crossed paths. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the chanting is divine. It is divine, isn't it? It's an oral tradition, so it's come down. One of the reasons there's so much repetition in the chanting is because that's the way the oral tradition works. The oral tradition is based on a little bit formulaic. So this may not be exactly the way the Buddha spoke at that time, but it's a memory device. So it's pretty it would be similar. I guess what happened there was similar. But of course, I imagine the Buddha spoke in a far more natural way. But to memorize, there's a certain amount of repetition that happens. But that captures the essence of what actually happened back then. So yeah, the scriptures are beautiful. You should check out some Pali chanting on YouTube, some sutra chanting. And Sanskrit has its own beauty. Pali has its own beauty. Pali was a spoken language at the time. Actually, the real language is Ardha Magadhi. And when Brahmins came to the Buddha's Sangha, they became monks, they requested, can the Buddha's teachings be converted into Sanskrit? And the Buddha said no, because the population does not understand Sanskrit, only the Brahmins understand it. So let it be in the normal language. So the Buddha declined his teachings being converted into the classical Sanskrit. He said, no, this is a dharma for the people. It should remain in the language of the people. So in those days, the language was Ardha Magadhi, which today is called Pali. And so yeah, so it's natural. Prakrit, the word Pali, these are all Prakrit languages. Prakrit comes from the word Prakriti. So natural languages. They're finding in advanced mathematics, the principles of advanced mathematics are similar to the principles of Sanskrit. So these are all Prakrit languages. And of course, Pali is a derivative of Sanskrit. But it was a spoken language at the time. So it's beautiful that the Buddha did not make his language, he did not try to make his teachings very elitist. He kept it simple. He kept it in the language of the masses of that time. All right. Okay, everybody. Take rest. Be well. Good night.